Welcome to Pluralsight's Best in Tech Battles. I'm your host, Jeremy Morgan. Today kicks off 3 weeks of your favorite tech influencers going head-to-head on today's hottest topics. We have some of the brightest minds in technology ready to dive in and share their controversial takes on everything from no-code to automation to AI. You'll want to tune in for the next 3 Wednesdays to check out the live stream debate and vote on our BiTbattles landing page for your favorite. That's right, we need you all to weigh in on who you think makes the better argument so we can declare our weekly winners. Be on the lookout for promos on Pluralsight subscriptions, free courses aligned to our weekly battle topics, and make sure you can see if you can snag yourself a spot on the leaderboard when we play our new stack-up game. So be sure to join the conversation on social with the hashtag BitBattles. Today we have experts battling it out on automation. So you may want to take a minute and think about which side you fall on. Are you pro-automation? Or do you fall on the con side? Can one of our influencers change your mind? In Corner 1, Kathryn Hodge works as a software engineer in the media sector. Most of her work involves programming in Java and TypeScript Node.js, building infrastructure to house middleware services, developing CI/CD pipelines, and working with other engineers to develop new features. You'll definitely want to check out her YouTube channel, Blondie Bites, for some awesome technical courses. And some of her other work includes voice applications for a few devices you may have heard of, Amazon Echo and Google Home. If you haven't already picked up on it, Kathryn's here to convince you that automation is the way of the future. And in Corner 2, we have Michael Bender, Principal Author Evangelist at Pluralsight, specializing in cloud skills and Microsoft tech with a splash of AWS to keep things interesting. Getting people skilled up on the things they need to level up in their careers is what he does. From Pluralsight to Microsoft to Madison College, his goal has always been to share what he learned in hopes that someone can use that to keep on climbing. Michael believes that if he can teach a handful of people a set of skills that will help them level up, it's been a good day. So as you can see, both of our guests today are well prepared to speak on automation. So let's get started.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, I'm Kathryn.
I'm Michael.
Thank you both for joining. Let's start with you, Kathryn, who is pro-automation.
Yeah, I'm a software engineer and I work on automation processes almost every day. We have CI/CD pipelines, we have infrastructure as code, and these are ways we automate our deployment processes as well as part of our infrastructure. And so I'm very familiar with writing a lot of that and putting it into the cloud. And it really saves us a lot of time. Before, you had to manually have your own servers, configure them, and manually do a lot of those processes to the point where it takes you almost a day to push your code to prod. And even for testing, like to manually test every feature of your application with unit testing and other various automated processes, you can verify it within just a couple minutes and sometimes seconds. So definitely pro-automation.
And I'll throw it to you, Michael, who is con automation.
I am Michael. I'm a principal author evangelist here at Pluralsight. I've got a long tenure. I've been working I'm a typical IT pro, sysadmin, cloud admin, architect, all of those sorts of things. I do plenty of automation with PowerShell and Terraform and those sorts of things. And I also have lived in the world without email and remember building servers. And it took a month to get a server into production and then finally get code onto it, and definitely realize those worlds and how much things have changed and how much things have really sped up with automation. And there are definitely some positives to that. But the big thing is that there seems to be a huge push that everybody automate all the things all of the time, and that there are going to be times when there's not as much thought into it, and the people making the decisions and the actual ones doing the automation may not have full view of what needs to be automated. They might not understand the full scale of the processes. So like automation abstracts everything. So the problem with abstraction is that if you have a brand new team of people and all of your seniors have left and nobody documents because nobody documents, how do you know what's running underneath? So when things go wrong, maybe an API changes and now your automation's broken. If you don't know how the underlying stuff works, it's hard to fix those. So while I am con automation for automating all the things, I think we definitely have to take a look at it and making sure that automation is the right thing for the right places at the right times.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's a good point that automation is abstraction. If you think of when you just turn on a car and all you do is press a button or turn the key, there's all this stuff kind of automated behind the scenes that actually turns on the car. And if the car doesn't work, like you go to the car shop and there are specialists that work on the car and fix the car. But a lot of times, like the abstraction is almost like the abstraction allows you to focus on driving the car. You don't have to worry about starting the car and all these details and get caught up in that because there is that abstraction and there is that automation. And even if it does go wrong, there are specialists that can dive into those details, and it's a little bit more distributed, the knowledge.
I could definitely see that. I'm thinking about it. I'm driving down the road in my, Tesla Y, and my screen goes out. And I call AAA, and the tow person comes out to help me. And chances are, tow person that comes out to help me is not specialist that knows what exactly Elon Musk's how all the ones and zeros go through the workflow of getting the machine to the machine. So I absolutely understand the abstraction. However, we also have to remember that, one of the big challenges, and we've seen across the landscape going through, the Industrial Revolution and all of those sorts of things, is that none of those happened overnight, and they took a lot of retraining and along the way, you have to deal with both sides. You have the people that knew how to do it the old way, and you have the people that knew about it the new way. And what can happen a lot of times is that we move so quickly that we lose the knowledge of how to do it in doing the thing. And then once we're hit a point where we're not doing the thing anymore, we don't know how to fix the thing because nobody along the road was there when we built the thing. And so I absolutely get, abstraction's great. It saves us tons of time, whether it's been virtualization, whether it's containers, whether it's the cloud. We just have to keep that reminder that making sure we're making all the right decisions at the right times.
Yeah, but even in that case, like let's say the car breaks down and the person doesn't know how to fix it. Like we could even think about our programming languages. Like if, there's never a reason why I need to type in ones and zeros into my computer if my code breaks. There have been tools that have developed over time that allow that abstraction. It's so abstracted to the point where like you're never going to get in that case where you need to type in those ones and zeros. Like we don't need to write assembly code anymore. Like we have progressed to the point where even the tools that we would use to debug or to fix a situation, they can be learned, and the automation is just not an issue anymore. Like we've created our own debugging tools to actually solve the issue. I agree that it does take time and you can't automate things overnight. It's really important to understand the process you're automating and then build on top of that, and to do it slowly so you don't run into those cases of someone built this, they've left the company, I don't know how it works. It's definitely a slow process that requires a lot of knowledge sharing. So it isn't just one person that knows how it works.
Well said, Kathryn. And what do you have to say to that, Michael?
Absolutely. I could get on board with that. Is that to a point in time, you get used to something, whether it be your, hitting the light switch and your lights turn on and those sorts of things. But I'm going to go back to the Tesla car, is that if I don't have a screen, I can't drive the car. Whereas my old car that didn't have a screen, I could keep driving the road. I knew how fast it was going. If you're driving an electric car, even though you see how fast it's going, that's not how fast it sounds. So we have to, having all of these tools are great, and getting to that point where everybody's abstracted. Once you're at that point, yeah, nobody's using ones and zeros. It's like, people, using the knowing half the stuff on a CompTIA exam on, what pinouts you need to use. Nobody does that because everything's plug and play. But we went through, everything goes through this period where you have to get to that majority case where everybody understands that. So if everybody understands within your, whether it be a programming language or whether it be cloud infrastructure, they understand that X is the way it is, then people simply go. The problem is that until you get to this point where everybody is using that tool, then there can be some issues there, because if you have some people building some stuff, based on some old tooling that does things a different way, that, is maybe a layer down from where everybody else thinks that everybody else should be. Because I think at times abstraction assumes that you're doing things the way that people assume software and infrastructure should be built. So we all know what happens when you assume.
So for our final round, can we sum up some last words or closing arguments? Let's go to you, Kathryn.
We talked a lot about how automation is abstraction. And I think there are a lot of benefits in theory to abstracting a process. One is that if it's something that's repetitive, you build an algorithm and that abstracts the process. And you can just reuse the same algorithm or the same automated process. And no matter how many times you have to do it, it can just do that for you. Something like support chat, where we now have chatbots that people are asking the same question over and over again. Now you just have a chatbot that deals with it. You have some kind of tool that automates the process. Automation can provide convenience. And so the last time you've coded, you have that beautiful IDE. It has the play button. It has code completion. Maybe it alphabetizes your imports. By doing those things and having that automation in place, now you can focus on what you really want to work on, which is your code. And once you have that code piece done, then you can continue to build on it. And it allows you to scale. Without automation, you can't scale and continue to progress.
Excellent. Those are some great points. Michael, your final thoughts.
So I guess the important thing to talk about here is we're all automating, and we all should be automating. There's a couple of things that we need to think about. First, we didn't really talk about this. I hope we would have got into this. But one of the things, I think the most important thing that often gets lost is, what's your return on investment from automation? Is that I hear all the time about these people just spending hours and hours and hours and hours automating something that takes like 5 minutes to do. And I understand the argument, well, when you add up all the 5 minutes together, we'll eventually get to the point, well, let's say you just spent an entire week, so 40 hours, you just spent coding something that saved 5 minutes of time, because you're extrapolating that this is going to run every day for the next 5 years, so you're going to make your money back. 2 weeks down the road, your thing just gets deprecated. You have now lost or wasted 40 hours of work because you didn't have the foresight to understand the big picture of what was going on. And what I'm getting at there is that this is what I taught in my PowerShell classes to all my students, is you have to think about the return of your on investment. Your boss is going to think you're awesome if you're able to automate the ability to do something, but not if you spend 40 or 50 hours to figure out how to automate something that's a very small task. The other thing that I want people to just it's really about thinking about the whole picture and understanding all of it. is that a lot of times when automation happens, all of the people that really need to be part of the process are not a part of it. Maybe the development stack is the people that are pushing the whole automation and infrastructure as code, but they don't understand infrastructure. They don't understand cloud infrastructure. They've simply been told that they need to build this up. And so they go out and they read Terraform's documentation on how to spin up something, but yet they don't understand how it works actually in the cloud. That a lot of times our rush to automate can mean that we make poor decisions. And I think that just comes down to it, is that I'm not anti-automation, I'm pro-automation, but as long as you're putting thought into it and that you're making sure that you're asking, why am I actually automating that? And should I be automating it? Should you be automating most of the things? Absolutely. Should you be automating all of the things? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think with any software, like, it's really important to understand what assumptions you're making about your user and define those inputs and those outputs and have a really good understanding of exactly what your application can do. I think that's regardless of if it's automated or manual. What I will say though is, like, human error can be brought in at so many different points in software engineering or really in any job. And so having an automated process, if I can click one button and it deploys my code or it even validates my PRs, and the reality is it's been tested over and over again because we're constantly using these same automated processes, it provides a lot of more security. It helps us always get it right.
That's a good argument. What's your take on that, Michael?
I could definitely see that. I think it's important to remember that, really until Skynet comes alive, that humans still create the automation. If we look at AI is all, it's based on the biases are built in of the creators and the models that they use to train it and all of those things that I think, you had a great point there. I'm going to just dumb it down to my level, is that garbage in, garbage out. It doesn't matter whether it's programming or whether it's building infrastructure, that if you, like you said, if you don't take that thoughtful time and understand your users, you don't understand the processes, that it's great to have that one push thing, but you have to make sure that all of the people that are involved have done that. And I don't think as a grand say all that we can say that everybody does all of these and uses all of these tools. I've been in instances, I'm not a developer, so I've been in instances where I remark all my code because I have a bad memory and I want to know what I did to this script 3 years ago so that I can go back in. And I live in the world with a lot of people that do a lot of development and scripting that don't remark their stuff, and it's expected that you understand that this and this and this and this. Coming from the teaching background, it's wider than just automation. There's so much of this understood level that the person that is seeing that sees things the way that you're at. And I think as long as we're going into it and we're being thoughtful, we're thinking about it, and we're documenting what's going on, I'm all for automation, and I'm all for the one click. I try to one click as much stuff in my life as I can.
And the reality is that, like, learning cannot be automated. Like, there are some processes that are valuable as manual, and the automation that we can put in here and there for convenience or to get rid of repetitive tasks, or what they really do is they let us focus on those manual processes. And so for, like, automatic PR validations that verifies your PR based on the unit test, like, that allows us to have the time to do code reviews and to do those manual processes. Without automation, we probably wouldn't have time to do all that because we would be spending days verifying every feature of our application.
Thank you to both of you for joining in this debate. And now it's up to you all in the audience to crown the winner. Go to this URL, also in the description, to cast your vote. You have until 11 a.m. Eastern on Friday to tell us what you think. Spread the word on social and let your network know who your winner is. Are you pro automation, or do you fall on the other side? Use the hashtag BitBattles to take a stand. And don't forget, your vote is how we will crown a winner. So make sure to click that vote button below. Now, if you're fired up and ready to learn something new right now, make sure to check out our free weekly automation courses or test your skills on our brand new Stack Up game. I challenge you to see if you can make the leaderboard. And don't forget, we have a giveaway happening. You could win one of 20 free premium annual Pluralsight subscriptions this week. So make sure you enter to win on our BitBattles landing page. Oh, and this will happen every week of our BitBattles, so make sure you enter every week. Stay tuned for the next week's battle on No Code.